From the beginning of time, 1998 to be specific, mankind has asked one question that has plagued our world. A question I'm going to attempt to answer today, so it can finally be put to rest. With of course that question being, which version of Sonic the Hedgehog is truly the best? Now before we start, I know there's going to be some fucko in the comments saying, well, your pick doesn't agree with mine. I personally think Underground Sonic is the best. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. Here's the thing about opinions. You're allowed to have them as long as you acknowledge mine is the only correct one. Now Sonic is a character that has been altered and reimagined almost with every game. So how can we define which is really the best portrayal of his character? What even is a Sonic? So I've devised a set list of factors that a Sonic should have to truly make him the Sonic. That being attitude, cockiness, a sense of justice, and at the end of the day, Sonic needs to have a heart of gold. A jerk with a heart of gold, if you will. And with that, let's look through all the iterations of Sonic to see which of them perfectly balances all these factors the best. I'm gonna try group together Sonics as much as possible to keep this as streamlined as it can, but oh boy, Sonic Team sure likes to switch up his personality as much as they can, so we've got quite a few Sonics to go through. Alright, so here he is, the Sonic that started it all, Classic Sonic. Now it's hard to talk about Classic Sonic in these trying times, as the response to him is different depending on what kind of Sonic fan you're talking to. If you're talking to a fat neckbeard who grew up in the 90s, they'd tell you this is the one and only Sonic, the series peaked with him and should never have changed. You know, they're the kind of person who says there hasn't been a single good Sonic game between Sonic 3 and Knuckles to Mania. For now, let's label those people as nostalgia blind. Next to them we have the fans who grew up with the modern games. Their first experience with Sonic was either Adventure or Heroes, and think that classic Sonic is overrated as hell, and it's not really Sonic if he doesn't have a voice. These are the kind of people who are still hoping that someday Sega will finally get their shit together and start consistently making good 3D Sonic games. For now, let's label those people as retarded. I think they portrayed Sonic's personality almost perfectly in the 90s, especially considering how games back then were quite limited. Obviously, the most notable example of this is the title screen. It's such a simple animation and so easy to gloss over, but the iconic finger wag after launching out of the emblem plastered with his name is so impactful. It lets you know that this guy right here, he means business and he doesn't want no pussy play in his game. This is further shown with how impatient he gets if you wait around. It's like he's saying, hey, I fucking warned you about wasting my time. The most we got to see out of this classic Sonic was the opening animation to Sonic CD done by Toei Animation. Like, do I really need to say at this point? Who hasn't already talked about how perfectly this scene captures Sonic's personality completely visually? If I were to have one complaint, it would be the classic Sonic can be a bit too in-your-face about his radical tude. I get it was done for marketing purposes, to make him as appealing as possible for kids in the 90s, because for some reason this was popular, but it sorta makes him annoying at times. But again, I think Sonic is the kind of character that should be annoying at times, you know? Overall, Classic Sonic was a great portrayal of Sonic's character for its time period, but as time went on, this type of personality was being perceived as more obnoxious and dated. So I don't really feel as if it could work nowadays and still have the same impact. So going forward, I don't think it's right for him to have that kind of personality. Although even during the 90s, Sonic was being portrayed differently through different mediums. So let's move on to Dick Sonic. Some people may think it's weird to lump these two Sonics in with each other considering each shows vastly different tones, but the Sonics presented in them actually aren't all that different. Compared to classic Sonic, these portrayals are a bit more silly and quippy, but still keep these core values of being a freedom fighter who has a sense for justice, and wanting to put a stop to Dr. Robotnik's tyrannic reign. The biggest difference is the focus on Sonic being more of a comedic character than a cool one. A decision I think is perfectly represented through casting Jaleel White as his voice.
If we call 911 for assistance, someone who really needed help would be in trouble.
Personally, I don't think a comedic tone really works for Sonic. Sonic can have elements of comedy, you know, through character interactions and short quips and stuff, but Sonic himself doesn't really seem like he should be the character who stops in place to make a joke or two. So yeah, still pretty consistent tone with classic Sonic, but with slight differences that date him even more in my opinion. Alright, what have we got next? Yeah, right. As I call him, Catchphrase Sonic.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
This Sonic is more of a free spirit. He comes off a lot more laid back. He's always shown to be the kind of guy who wants to chill out and relax until he's called into action. Something this Sonic is often made fun of for is that he's way too focused on the power of friendship, and this is the real superpower of teamwork. Personally, I always felt like Sonic should be a character who's less willing to show those kinds of emotions. You know, he should be a guy who's so confident in himself that he acts like others are only holding him back. It makes the moments where he does appreciate his friends all the more impactful, like at the end of Team Sonic's story in Heroes. I still think this was a pretty natural evolution of his character from classic Sonic, but even more so than him, Adventure Sonic comes off as way more dated, with his radical attitude and constantly spouting cringy one-liners. This version of Sonic wasn't around for too long though. When they recast Ryan Drummond, Sonic's personality is also changed to reflect the kind of personality Sega wanted to go for. He sleeps. He sleeps and is very boring. The only good thing about X Sonic is that he has moments that wonderfully show that jerk with a heart of gold aspect I was talking about. To me, Sonic should never be some goody two-shoes who always does what's right because he's just a super nice guy. Sonic doesn't do what's right, he does what he thinks is right. And X shows this at times, and it's some of the best episodes of the series. For example, there's the one everyone talks about where the president invites Sonic to a party so they can be shown as allies, and even though that would be a good way to get the police off their back, Sonic says fuck that cause he promised to take a handicapped girl to see some flowers. You know, it's sweet. Overall, X Sonic isn't very good because he doesn't act very Sonic-y, but when they get it right, they get it right. This is probably going to be a controversial opinion, but I think during the Dark Age is when Sonic's personality was at its best. He initially comes off as a more mature and refined version of Adventure Sonic. He's a lot less prone to spouting dumb phrases. In games like Sonic 06, the biggest issue is that Sonic is just really fucking boring. He stands around doing nothing but reacting to what other characters have to say. And it really took Jason Griffith a while to get his Sonic voice down. He's my favourite Sonic voice actor, but in his early games he had this really weird way of enunciating words. But I also think there's something kind of charming about that.
That's a pretty snazzy performance there.
As the games went on, Sonic's character started to improve, down to the great writing by Shiro Makawa. He's way more mellow and they started exploring other aspects of his personality. He starts to be more than a one-note action hero, and they show that Sonic can feel sad, insecure, and they even adapt the parts of his X personality I enjoyed. Like in Black Knight, where instead of doing the third mission he was tasked with in order to save the world, he goes to help out a little girl whose family were kidnapped. Again, Sonic always does what he thinks is the right thing to do. Makes him come off as more of a free spirit. This Sonic is a lot nicer than Adventurer X Sonic, which I also think makes him more of a likable character. Again, this is probably going to be controversial, but two of my favourite moments in Sonic history came from the Dark Age. The first being the ending to Sonic 06, which has Sonic running around as fast as he can to see Elise again without being noticed. I always enjoyed it more when Sonic hid on rooftops instead out of sight. Makes the parts where he jumps into action a lot cooler. And my absolute favourite Sonic moment is from the ending cutscene to Black Knight, where despite just being betrayed by her and having to stop her from taking over the world, Sonic is still willing to talk to Merlina and give her his perspective on life.
Merlina, every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least, that's what I figure.
It's a really great scene accompanied by one of Crush 40's best tracks. But fuck it, let's throw all that out the window. Baldy nose hair. Boom Sonic is dead in the water, so I'm gonna make this as brief as possible. They push the comedic aspect to its absolute limit and really exaggerate Sonic's ego. It works well for the TV show and is really funny, but it's not the way Sonic should be portrayed in the main games. It's a shame Sonic Boom failed because it seems Sega's just moved all the character personalities from Boom into the modern stuff, creating the most unlikable Sonic yet. There is no character. I despise everything about Meta Sonic. Remember when I said Sonic shouldn't just be some goody two-shoes who wants to protect the world because he's a super duper nice guy? Well yeah, that's Meta Sonic. Why does Sonic go after Eggman in Unleashed? Because he needs to find out how to transform back to normal and help this guy he dropped on top of to find his memory again. Why does Sonic go after Eggman in Adventure 2? Because it's the way of him finding out who this black hedgehog is that keeps framing him. Why does Sonic go after Eggman in Lost World? Because Eggman is bad. Eggman is bad and that's what Sonic is supposed to do. It's like it's his job or something. Except it's not supposed to be his job. That is such a not Sonic thing to say. Sonic fucks with Eggman because he likes the action and adventure, not because he's obligated to. And that's not to mention the weird emotional whiplash that Sonic is constantly going through. In one scene he can be saying, "That was cool." Pun entirely intended. Then not too long later be crying like, "I'm supposed to be the fastest, but I was too slow to save my buddy." Maybe you'd be faster if you didn't stand around talking all the fucking time. Sonic has no stakes in these stories anymore. He stands around trying to be quippy like Adventure Sonic, but it never works because it's coming out of a guy who sounds about 40 years too old to be playing Sonic. And his stories are told by writers who literally admitted to not caring about Sonic in the slightest and get their information about the series from Wikipedia articles. Not really gonna talk for long about Movie Sonic because my issues could end up being solved in the sequel. Movie Sonic has great potential. It's an origin story, so I think he needs a bit more time to mature, but then nailed his sense of adventure, attitude, and justice. I can perfectly sum up Sonic's character in one sentence.
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure.
He's a guy who saves the world and has fun with it. He shouldn't be stopping every 5 seconds to talk about the harshness of war, or acting like a block of wood while other characters go through more interesting shit. He's an adventurous nomad, always looking ahead with no regrets. And which Sonic balances all these factors the best? Sonic Man. He does the frickin' ninja run like Naruto. Woo, that was the first video. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. Stay tuned for more, I'll upload whenever. It's like Cyber Shell. Except I'm not gonna leave.